Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. The world is now storming about what happened October 7th last year in Eretz Yisrael. The massacre happened on Simchas Torah, and it's almost in a month and a half, it's almost a year since October 7th. So people are wondering, what are we supposed to do? What would the Rabbi say after a year, after what happened? We're still in the middle of the Milchama. Yet Yisrael needs a big Yeshua. What would the Rabbi say today? So I looked through my notes here. So I want to read to you the Rebbe asked Rabbi Mindel to write in English to the newspaper after the massacre in Kfar Chabad. There was a massacre in Kfar Chabad, and I'll read you. This was in 1956, I think. There was one Chevra in 1927 and in 1956. But Chevron, it's a different program, not today, but it's about the Frierdiker Rebbe. But I want to read to you what the Rebbe asked him to write to the newspaper. And I don't see any notations over here. Usually the Rebbe, everything the Rabbi Mindel wrote, the Rebbe, but here I don't see, but I'm almost sure that the Rebbe looked it over, because everything that he wrote, the Rebbe looked over, and especially when the Rebbe told him to write this to the newspaper. So I want to read to you exactly what happened then after the massacre in Kfar Chabad. And this is what he wrote to the newspaper, and the Rebbe told him. So I'll read the way he wrote it. On April 11th, 1956, the world was shocked by the news of the vicious and calculated attack by Arab raiders on the Chabad village, killing 3 youths and their religious instructor when they were at prayer in the village synagogue. Subsequently, the number of dead rose to 6. The incident occurred at 7:45 o'clock in the old Arab village of Safrir. This village where Kfar Chabad is today was an Arab village, and that village was called Safrir, renamed Chabad by Jewish settlers from Eastern Europe. Chabad is a deeply religious community of settlers belonging to Hasidic sect of refugees from the Soviet Union. That's how he wrote. I think this was also then they put this in the New York Times, I think. The youths of the community were assembled for evening prayer in a schoolroom of the agricultural institution. They were standing stiffly erect, reading the Shemoneh Esrei, benediction, used in the daily prayer. Arabs kicked open the door of the classroom, which opened on a narrow porch, and sprayed the room with automatic fire. 3 of the youths, he writes, who were hit died almost instantly. Others jumped out of the windows and took shelter in a ditch. It was several minutes before another instructor broke open the lock of the school telephone and called police. Loss of life might well have been larger, as it is the attack caused the loss of 5 children and an instructor, and many seriously wounded, some of them with a loss of limbs or crippled for life. The terrible tragedy aroused the indignation of all decent people. Many thousands of telegrams protesting the massacre poured into the White House, the State Department, the United Nations. Angry protesters were heard from the floor of the Congress in Washington. A delegation of Chabad leaders was received in the State Department by the Undersecretary of State Allen. Everything was done to prevent the repetition of such an outrage and a demand indemnity for the victim of the village, which in a real sense is an American institution operated by the Agudas Hasidic Chabad of the United States under the presidency of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, in Brooklyn, New York. It's how Rabbi Mendel wrote. The Chabad village was stunned by the tragedy, as was the entire Yishuv settlement, the whole Jewish world, and the Yishuv in particular was anxiously waiting for the reaction of the Chabad villagers. The tragedy was enormous. Would it crush the spirit of the villagers? Did it spell the end of the Chabad village? Would the Arabs succeed in driving terror into the heart of the people? These were crucial questions, for the Chabad village was more than a settlement, it was a symbol. But the anxiety was not for long. On the day after the tragedy, a cable was received from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, addressed to everyone in the Chabad village, the settlers, the institutions, the administration, the teachers and students. In the cable, the great leader, whose word command both love and loyalty, urged the bereaved village to bear up bravely under the terrible tragedy, and let no trial or obstacle deter them from their divine purpose to serve as a strong of the true Judaism and a beacon of light of the Torah and mitzvahs and Hasidim of our people. On the contrary, the answer must be, the Lubavitcher Rebbe continued, to show increased determination and again efforts to enlarge the village and its institution, and to expand absorptively a capacity in order to serve as ever-growing source of inspiration and influence for all. The effect of the Lubavitcher Rebbe message was electrifying, and the response was unanimous. No one of the settlers, teachers, students deserted his place in the village, and steps were immediately taken to implement the Rebbe's call for action. And then they write that they had a whole project, and they had a whole people came to participate. A lot of government people came, but then they ended. My father ended here. Most moving was the participation in ceremonies of a 13-year-old boy, Yosef Ederi, one of the victims of the attack, who was brought from the hospital in a plaster cast from the hip up and one leg in straps. The young immigrant from Morocco had been only 3 months in the Chabad village. Then the Arabs raiders bombed 13 stun gun bullets into him. All eyes were filled with tears when he declared in response to the question whether he planned to return to his school in the village, "It's here that I shed my blood. It's here that I wish to grow up." And then he still wrote more, but I'm not going to read that. But here we see that the Rebbe asked them to write this, that we felt that after such a tragedy, what people have to do is, people have to start something. So after such a thing, they should have in that place where the tragedy happened, they should have a shul or yeshivas or whatever, Talmud Torah, something there. That what the Rebbe wanted. Now, a year later, Tazayin, everybody knows, the Rebbe sent a group of Bachrim to Eretz Yisrael to give everybody chizuk after this thing happened. The Rebbe sent, here we have Rabbi, they were Bachrim. There was Rabbi Fogelman, Avremel Korf, Rabbi Rimler, Sholem Ber Butman, Rosenfeld, Rabbi Shochat, Sholem Ber Shem Tov, and Rabbi Krinsky. And then the Rebbe, this is by the airlines, the Rebbe asked Rabbi Chadakov and Rabbi Mindel, here's a picture, to be there with them and to give them chizuk. The Rebbe told them where to go. They should stop off in England, in France, in Belgium, in Sweden, Italy. They should speak. So this was, the Rebbe made a whole thing from this. And then the Rebbe said the main thing is that they should right away open up something, a yeshiva, something there. So here I would say the same thing, what happened over here. And the Rebbe says, helping that there shouldn't be any more tragedies. And should be zeicha to the Geula Shleima of Meir Yaminu. Thank you.